Start your recording. Okie dokie. All right. So we wanted to review doing a LUS case site visit with the tablet and collecting the data while being on site. So with the UST stuff, you can schedule an inspection in the website or you can schedule it on the tablet. With the LUS case inspections, you've got to start on the website to get the inspection process started. So for example, I logged in as me and I said, or I logged in, I said, okay, I want to look at LUS cases that are assigned to me that are currently open. And I search and I find this set of cases. And I'll pick the first case here. That's some open case with a confirmed release that has some history associated with it. There's a past on-site inspection, but I'll add a new on-site inspection. So I choose here on-site inspection. I choose save. I can enter a comment if needed, and that's about it. I save it here. I could enter the comment and say, I performed this inspection and then set the status to passed or failed, and set the other information and mark it as complete. But instead, I'm going to perform this on the tablet. So the key is that this inspection has been assigned to me, and I'm here as the inspector. So if I'm on the tablet application, which is somewhere around here, which is here, and I do the synchronization function. I know you guys haven't used the tablet application in the past. There's an icon on the desktop and you'll start the tablet application. I think it's probably installed, but I don't know that you guys have used it yet. But when you start the tablet application, you press the synchronization function. And what that does is it's going to upload anything that you've completed on your tablet and then download anything that's assigned to you or any updates to LUS cases or facility information, tank information. So I choose OK here. And this is the LUS site visit that we just scheduled that got downloaded to the tablet. So I can choose, I can reschedule it or look at directions or view summary of the facility. But the main function here is to start the inspection. So here we see some details about the facility and the LUS case. So at the top here, this hyperlink is going to show you details about the facility and what county they're in, and some additional information. This is details about the inspection and why you're here at this facility. You can specify when you got there, and when you leave, you press this depart now. So let's say we were there for an hour. If there was the LUS case number will show here, and it's read-only, of course, and it can't be changed. If there was a closure associated with this LUS case, then that information would be here. And this is something that's relatively new, but we're importing the facility names that the name of the facility at the time that the LUS event occurred. So that will display here, and you can edit that as well, and the notification date. This is going to show the LUS case statuses. You can edit a LUS case status and enter a comment. And you can also add a LUS case status. So for example, if we did this today and we determined that the release was under control, I guess we could add that status in and enter whatever comment was appropriate. So the LUS case details have been downloaded, and also the contacts associated with the LUS case and the tank information. So let's just look through some of that information. The contacts are here at the top. These are UST contacts, and these are the ones that are crossed out are old contacts. And then the ones that aren't crossed out are the current owner and any other contact information that we have about the facility. down at the bottom here is going to be LUST specific contacts for this particular LUST case. So the responsible party and the owner and the facility contact. The responsible party and the owner can't be modified here, but you can add contact information and about the responsible party and the LUST owner and the facility contact. And they're each the same, just a name and phone number and email address. And then the tank information is all shown here. Tanks that are closed as well as the tanks that are open are going to display here because in most cases, I think you'll be, if you did a less site visit, the tank would probably be already closed and they're doing remediation at that point. But even if the tank is open, it's going to display in the list. And you can validate this information. You can modify, if they pull the tank out and it's not steel, but it's fiberglass, you can make that change. It's not going to change the registration information, but the report will print such that the information is correct, and then you need to work with Jenna in order to figure out those changes. One of the other things I wanted to mention was this contact information. You can change it, but it's not going to update the main database. It'll send Jenna an email to tell her, that, for instance, in this case, the responsible party contact has been changed, and she'll get the details of that. And then she would be able to modify the LUST case. And I think probably Jenna, as well as the person doing the inspection, is going to get that email. Actually, that's right. The person who's going to get the inspection, Jenna will get the email. This information, if changed, will update the main database, but the contact information won't. And any UST specific information, anything that would be on the UST registration, which includes all the tank data and all of the compartment data. If you're at, a site and it's either, during a closure or a LUST site visit, and a tank is discovered while you're in the field, you can add a new tank. So here the number of tanks is 5. You could change that to 6, and then enter the details about that particular tank. So maybe it was installed with the rest of the tanks. The compartment information would be here at the end as well. You can specify, if it was removed from the ground, you could specify it was permanently closed, and the capacity, and the system is going to be forgiving. Even though these items are showing red as if they're required, it'll warn you that you should enter that information. But if you don't know the information, you can always just leave it blank. But the details about the tank compartment and the product are here. And then the tank details for the new tank would be over here. So I'm going to pause for a minute and see if there's any questions just about the data that gets downloaded from the main database. Okay, cool. Okay, one of the items that Melissa had me add was this right of entry agreement. So if you want to collect the facility owner's signature on site for the right of entry agreement, you just choose here, choose whatever person is the appropriate person. Let's say our friend Joe Schmo is the appropriate person. He'd sign the document, and then as soon as he does the signature and you choose save, the document's going to be generated, and then we'll just take a look at the document. Okay. So, and the document I think you're probably familiar with is it's just going to pre-fill with the facility information, and then the person who signed signature as well as your signature at the bottom. Oops. No. All right. All right. Any comments about the right of entry agreement? Since I haven't heard a sound in a while, I just want someone to say that they're there. Oh, I'm sure someone said.
No, I actually have a question on that right of entry agreement. Is it pulled from the, I guess, the contact information? Because a lot of the addresses have changed because of new 911 type things. Is there a way to edit that on the right of entry form?
Let's see. I'm just going to take a look at what's printing on the right of entry form. So it looks like the facility's address prints there on the right of entry form, and that's it. I don't think there's any other contact specific. The contact person's name and title print, but the address for that person doesn't print here. But just the facility address prints. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, just making sure we was able to change that. Well, this facility address could be the same thing because some of the facility addresses are actually, the corner of this road and this road.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, it would address. Yeah, you could do that. You could. Here it's showing on 164 Main Street. If you were to click here, you could modify that and say corner of third, or whatever is appropriate. That's a good thing to notice. So the data that comes from the registration database is downloaded here, and anytime you make a change to that registration data, it's going to just show yellow to indicate to you, this is registration information that you're saying is incorrect or is being modified. But that doesn't mean the registration data is going to be updated. It just means that, it's different from what's in the registration system. So that would allow you to change that facility address or to correct the facility address.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't happen with tanks that are currently in service very often, but some of the older sites where we go back that are no longer active, that sometimes the addresses are either far off or not very precise.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. So I went through that. Any other questions from anybody before I move on? Okay. So here's the comment section, and the system makes you enter some sort of comment here, so that just so that there's some narrative associated with the inspection report. Because an inspection report will print that will include all this information as well as the comment and any violations that may be issued and any diagram that might get created. So we'll look quickly at the diagram function. If you're lucky and you're at a Lust case site and previous UST inspections have occurred, there might be a site diagram that's already at the facility. But otherwise, you could create one where when you click on this option, it's going to bring in any tanks or dispenser information that's already in the system associated with the database. You can add a new tank if that's something that, if you discover a tank on site, or if maybe there's an AST or something like that that you want to add, you can add that. This tool is very detailed, and the best way to learn it is to create a fake inspection and play with it for a while. But there's a mechanism to add the background from Google Maps. So this facility, and you can zoom in a little bit maybe and save. And so you have a Google Map image in order to start the diagram with, so that you place the equipment with the right orientation. The Google Maps are always going to be oriented north, so that this site's very easy. It's very north, south, east, west. But you can then position the items and for whatever makes sense. And it might be that you don't want any of this stuff. You could clear all the items out. and maybe there's only one tank that you're interested in, and you could identify that tank. Maybe it's tank -2, and that's the one that is associated with the loss case. But the goal of this is to add any observations, graphically, so that down the road you'll be able to reference back to them. And one of the features that I think is very useful for any kind of site investigation is you can create something like this and say, let's say contamination, spelled incorrectly, but anyway, so and you can point to where you found some issue, and you can say add another line and specify that there were multiple locations where the contamination occurred, for instance. And with the tablet pen, if you're out in the field, you can draw directly onto the screen and maybe show the flow of product or something like that. I'm using a mouse here, so it's difficult to be legible, but allowing you can draw right on top of the diagram and then go back and still modify the shapes and the location of the diagram. So when you save that, an image of the diagram will be saved so that you could email that around and use it on your desktop and that kind of thing. And it will also, the image would also get attached to the inspection report. This to-do function is going to try and indicate to you where this information that hasn't been entered. So, for example, if you didn't enter this departure time and you said to do, it's going to say you forgot to enter that information. It's just kind of a reminder thing. Issues are in order to cite a violation while you're on site. If you click the Issues tab, you can choose Add Violation here. And the list of loss case regulations and associated violations are here. If you were on site and you were to find a different violation, you could choose all violations, and the UST regs would be here, listed here as well. Or you could just choose closure. There's only one listed under tank closure, but you could also just choose compliance inspection, and then the loss case violations would be filtered out. But in most cases, you choose something in this list, maybe this 62A6, and then save. And then violation added here is going to be the same as if you added it on the website. And then after you do the synchronization, you could create a notice of violation based on the regulation, the violation that you enter here. You can add comments about those, the particular violation. You can also say view regulation to view the text of that specific CFR 280 reg. And the comment here screen here is in each case that a comment screen pops up, whether it's in compliance inspections or loss case inspections or closure inspections, is going to be the same comment. So it's just kind of a running comment. So you might specify violation cited or something, hopefully more detailed. So close here. This view is just going to allow you to view the inspection report. When you save and it asks you, is the inspection complete, and you say yes, it's going to generate the inspection report automatically, so that the last time you save, we are ensuring that the inspection report has the most up-to-date data. And the inspection report is going to look like this. So the facility information with our change to the facility address, the loss case contacts, the one we added is here as well. the UST contacts, the statuses, the violations, that tank and compartment information, and then the regulation. And if we attach any photos, the photos will be assigned, will show, and then the diagram, and then your signature would show at the bottom. To attach a photo, well, there's no photo button, I guess. When you're in the inspection, if you start the camera from within the inspection and you take a photo, it'll get attached automatically. But you could, if you take a photo, say on a digital camera, and then attach those, you can always choose this add function, and then pick a photo to include. And now that I added the photo, I'd have to save again, and then it would force me to say yes here, and in which case it regenerates that, the inspection report. So it was very quick, but that's kind of the overview of the LUST inspection, or the LUST site visit, I guess we're calling it. Any comments or questions?
This is Melissa. Guys, ask as many questions as you think you may need to. I won't be able to help you with this because I don't have it on my tablet. This only works from the tablet, right, Dan?
I could install it on your desktop if you want to have it. You know, it's a Windows-based tool, so you know, if you don't have a tablet, if you only have a desktop computer, I could install it on the desktop computer just for you to, you know, have the ability to look at it and, you know, make sure it works correctly and that sort of thing.
I guess I'll be the elephant in the room and say, because it's a Windows-based component, is it something that really should load since we're going to switch to the Google platform?
I don't. Well, that you're still going to run the Windows machines, but you're going to run, you know, Windows machines using the Google platform. There's other. Ruth and Josh and I have had some conversations about things that need to change to remove ourselves from using the Microsoft Office components, but that's kind of that shouldn't affect anything that you saw today. At least I hope not, anyway.
Okay, you're right. There's a difference between Office 365 and a Microsoft-based machine. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So hopefully, you know, at least I'm hoping that they're not going to switch you guys over to Chromebooks or anything like that anytime soon. That would be a big change. You know, that might be the directions that they're thinking to go, but hopefully not. Hope for, at least for us. But the content of what is shown in the tablet, you know, for a UST inspection, it's very detailed. It's questions about every single tank and questions about every single dispenser, and it's the same at every, you know, it's different at every facility depending on the equipment, but the system accounts for all those differences. With the LUST case inspection, I think it's more about the narrative of what's going on at the facility that's important, and recording, you know, your observations more than checking boxes and entering dates and that sort of stuff, which is more what the UST inspection is about. But, you know, if there's additional structured information that should be collected at each LUST site visit, I can certainly add that. But this is the information that I thought was important to download to the tablet, so that you could modify it and, you know, have that context when you're out in the field.
Sure.
Melissa, Melissa, I'd suggest that you have it loaded onto your laptop. I have the inspection module on mine. You may want to look at whether or not you can also do a project status checklist from this out in the field. And that might be handy to be able to do that when you're standing out in the field, go through that project status checklist, and upload any photos or whatever that you might be doing at that time.
Well, that was the idea behind this. It would take the place of the site visit, so that when staff were on site, whether it was a closure or responding to emergency response or something was going on at the site and they were there, they could use this to fill out a site visit. You know, I think the only thing that's missing, Dan, like you said, is the photo upload.
The photos would upload if, you know, that where we attach this photo, that photo would be uploaded to the database. And the photos, you know, if the software is running and you're open to a particular site visit, you just take the photo and it gets attached automatically. The system will pick up that photo and push it into the inspection automatically. And then I'll let you guys continue to ask questions, but I'm going to upload this inspection so that you guys can see what the result is on the database. So when a site visit is complete, it's going to show with an X here. If there wasn't any violations associated with it, it'd be a green check, but that's the indicator that that you're completed with that site visit, and then you synchronize and it comes off of the tablet, and then you can't edit it from the tablet anymore. You have to make any additional changes on the website. But I'll show that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have two questions. In working off of this tough book, do we already have this app on our desktop, or is this something that we'll need to add? Because right now on my desktop, I have the UST Inspector and the West Virginia UST Inspector app. Are we working out of that? Is that the first thing we would open up when we're on site to put this information in?
Yeah, if you were going to do most of the entry that your group does is on the website, on the main system, right into the database. But if you were going to do a LUS site visit and you wanted to collect notes in the field, you'd go in and schedule that or create that task in the main database by choosing that add task. You know, you'd say add this task and you'd choose on-site inspection, and then that's what would get the process started, because you synchronize the tablet and then that on-site inspection task is going to get downloaded.
And then when I'm on site, I haven't really played with the UST Inspector app or the one called West Virginia UST Inspector because, well, I didn't see that as what I was doing since I'm in the remediation side. Which one of those apps, or does it matter, do you click on? Because I really don't know the difference between the two. There
should only be one. There isn't two different applications. There isn't a different application for compliance and closure, compliance and LUS site visits. The inspection type is going to show here for each item that's downloaded. And for you guys, for the most part, it's going to say LUS site visit. It sounds like we're probably going to have an emergency response kind of, or a complaint type of inspection that's more generic, that's not necessarily associated with a LUS case, but more associated with the facility. But in the short term anyways, if you were going to do a LUS site visit for a LUS case that already exists, you would take that approach of scheduling an inspection on the website and then downloading it to the tablet. And I'm sure those icons, they both start the same program on your desktop. At least I'm assuming
Okay.
that. One, I don't know if that tablet laptop was used for test at one point, and maybe one's the test one and one's the production one, but we can do an online meeting and I can take a look at it.
Okay. Now, will we still have the option of going out in the field, seeing what we're seeing, and then coming back to the office and going on the UST database and just filling out the information for a site visit report? Or is the site visit report option going to be taken away?
You could do either one.
Okay.
Yeah. Ideally, we're getting use from the tablet, but if it was an emergency or whatever, and you didn't have if there was no less site at the time because it's an emergency, or if the tablet wasn't working or wasn't available, you could always enter the inspection, even the same way that we did. You could call it an on-site inspection and then enter the comments directly, and then specify that it's saved. Where are we here? So if I was to add a new site visit here, you could just enter, all the details about the site visit, and you could say the inspection's completed, and that, let's say they passed the inspection, and you can enter the arrival time or not, and then you just choose this mark complete function, and then it's, if you mark it complete on the website, then it won't get downloaded to the tablet.
I guess, I'm sorry, what?
Vanessa, this is Ruth. Let me make one real quick point, and then you can go back to asking your questions. One of the ideas of doing this out in the field, and I realize sometimes you may, for whatever reason, come back to your office or home or whatever to do the on-site inspection. But one of the ideas of having this so that you could do it out in the field is for efficiency. When you get out there, you can actually, the diagramming section there, while you're standing there looking at things, as opposed to trying to recall it when you get back and trying to do a diagram. And also with the tablet, you can take the photos with the tablet while you're out there, and it will auto append to the inspection without you having to come back and add things and go through that process. So, the whole idea there is just trying to improve the efficiency for staff and to be able to have that. Now, it doesn't prevent you, again, like Dan was saying, from being able to do it from when you come back. But we'd like to encourage everyone to try it out some and everything, because we think eventually it will help with efficiency and probably even accuracy, because a lot of times you think, well, I'll remember exactly where that was when I get back and I go to do a diagram, but it's not nearly the same as when you're standing there looking at it. So,
this is Melissa. Think about your 7-Eleven closure there at Clendenin. You knew that the closure was going to happen sometime during X week, so you could load the information onto your tablet. Then when you go out, you can take the picture of the tank popping out of the ground, or holes in the side of the tank, or the extra tanks that were found, and show the orientation by using the little mapping tool, instead of trying to come back and physically write, tank number 4 was found northwest at a 40-degree angle to tank number 7. And I know for us, a lot of that information is provided in the UST closure report by the consultant, but it's important as a note-taking measure, so that when that closure report comes in and, they only write up that they removed the 3 tanks that they were supposed to and they covered up the other 2, when we go back and look at those as a state lead site, we'll have a reference because you took the pictures while you were there on site and took notes and did the diagram. Does that make sense? Or at least a better application?
That all makes perfect sense. I'm just trying to figure out what all is still going to be available, and just to know, because maybe sometime I might not have, for whatever the reason, not have my test book with me. You know, would I be able to come back and do it the old-fashioned way? And I'm just trying to figure out what all is still going to be available, and so I can start planning accordingly. And I was wondering, will there be like at least a one-time run-through for, or at least me, maybe the guys already know how to use the test book with taking the pictures and all of that, just a one-time run-through of a mock site visit?
Yeah, we can certainly.
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah, we could set that up so that, and one of the things you can do also is that you could go through this process of where we said, okay, create an on-site inspection, do all the things we did, and then at the end of the process, just delete the inspection. And that's something that's, you know, won't leave any traces behind or any problems behind, to delete the inspection after the process is finished. And that might be a good way to go through it too. And, you know, if we wanted to have another meeting where everybody, you know, we could go through the process together, and everybody would be able to, you know, follow along on their tablet. We could do that too, if you want to go through that process. One thing that you mentioned is the closure. There is also a closure inspection, and I can show that because that would be, you know, for the scenarios that it looks like you guys probably attend a lot of tank pulls, you know, the closure inspection. So I can show the closure inspection as well. But let me, I'm going to go through and just show the results of what we created when we did that inspection. So we went through, we could have added a closure number, or we could have changed the name of the facility. We did change the site status a little bit. Some of this junk is stuff that I added. If we look at the task itself that we added, the violation that we added is here as well. So any violations are going to get set here, and we can then down the road generate a notice of violation based on those violations. This is that task that we created that, you know, was scheduled for today and completed today. Any comments that get entered are going to show here, and then each of those documents is going to show here. And so the site diagram is here, that photo, the right of entry document that we had signed, and the inspection report is all here. If you got a situation where remember we said, you know, if it has the X or the check, it gets uploaded, it comes off the tablet. If you got into a situation where, oh, you know, I forgot to enter some information, or I want this back on the tablet so I can, you know, attach more photos or whatever, you can always choose this return to inspector function, and that will send it back down to the tablet. I don't know if this is the right approach for you guys or not. Melissa, you probably need to make this decision. With a UST inspection, before they send the inspection report out, they do this request approval function, and either Cleve or Eric gets an email, and then they click on it and they come to this screen, and then they approve the inspection, and then the inspector gets an email saying the inspection was approved, and then they can go forward generating the notice of violation and sending out the inspection report. Do you do that in your group, or is that an appropriate approach?
We don't usually. The only thing that requires my quote unquote approval has been NOVs.
Okay.
Because this is internal information for a site visit that we can refer back to.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily go out to the responsible party or the facility. That's usually just an in-house document for them to track what was going on while they were at the site today for whatever reason.
Okay, and
So it does not need my approval.
okay, and that does, I guess, lead to a second question. Is these the PDF documents, this right of entry agreement, as well as the Lust case inspection notes or the inspection report? By default, because they're PDF documents, they would go to the web extender function and be available to the public. Is that something that you would want or not? Or I don't know what the rules are for that.
There's no reason why the right of entry could not be public. It's just a signature with a name and address. There's no social security number,
Right.
personal identifying information. So that one's totally fine. And there's no reason why the inspection report should not be made available to the public. Because again, there's no, PII information on there. Everybody just has to be mindful, like, you can't write on there that, Mr. Smith was a jerk today and he reminds me of a pile of slime. All your comments have to be professional. Right.
Yeah, that comment.
So both of those.
Good. Okay. Good. That makes sense. We're running out of time. I'm gonna actually. Are there more questions, or does anybody have another question? Questions about this are probably more important, but I would like to show the closure inspection quickly.
I have one quick question. Mm-hmm. Back when we were doing the diagram of the site, you were showing us how to do the diagram of the site. When you click on background, does it automatically pull up the Google Earth to show that particular site?
Yeah, and in this case, you would need to be connected to the internet, right? So this is something that if you were to schedule the inspection, you synchronize in the office, do this first before you go out, because if you're out in the field, if you've got Wi-Fi, or if I don't know if you guys have cell connections on your devices, but that can't be relied on. So definitely do this before you leave the facility. So I don't know where this might be a closed facility, because that doesn't look like a gas station anymore. But apparently there were tanks there at some point. But yeah, so that function is going to require you to do the on-site, be on site when you do that function. Oh, one thing I didn't look at was there is a function where this click to add coordinates, if you don't have coordinates associated with a particular tank, and because of the Lust case, it's important, you can click on this click to add coordinates function, and then the tablet, it has a GPS receiver in it, and you can press this get fix function in order to get connect to the satellites and get the fix. And that's something that doesn't require any kind of internet access.
Thank you.
Okay, and so I'm gonna, any more questions for me to answer before I go on to the closure inspection? Okay, so the closure works the same way. So you would create a closure event and then create a closure inspection, separate from a Lust case. But so in most cases, I think this would be before the Lust case was created, where in the system, I'll try and do it quick. Let's see. We'll stay at the same site and add a new event. So if it's a tank closure, and we have to enter some information about this. So that's the certified worker, and let's say they can install sometime in November, and closure date or intended closure date is today. Save. Okay, so the tank closure gets created, and then the next step is the closure authorization. When the closure authorization is created, the system is going to, where am I here? The system is going to create the closure document, and it's also going to create a closure inspection and assign it to the person that handles the region that the facility's in. So let's see. So it's generating the closure authorization document. So it's going to just take a minute. Okay, so there's the closure authorization, and now there's additional. Oh, I think I did it twice. Yeah, there's additional tasks that have been created. I got a little out of control and clicked on it twice. I'll make sure that that gets fixed, or Jim will fix that. But so now we have a closure inspection assigned to whoever is in that region, which I guess is Michael Boyer, but if it was assigned to me, then when I synchronize, the task is going to come down to my tablet. I'm going to delete one of the two so we only get one here, but okay. So like the Lust site visit, the closure process has to be initiated on the website. So this is that site that we created the closure for. The contacts, there's 2 tanks that are currently in use. It looks like they're two compartment tanks. But we have the same sort of information. This was the information that was gathered from the closure application that I think Jenna would probably enter first, but the closure number gets assigned and the notification date and all this information that we entered on the closure creation process. And then most of the stuff is the same. This is a little different, the closure inspection section. You can pick which tanks are going to be closed and then enter the details about the closure. So are they going to close the tank in place, or are they going to remove it from the ground? And then closure date, the condition of the tank, with the tanks empty, and a lot of the details that I think are on the pre-printed form that you guys are using now for closures. So there's tank closures, pipe enclosures, and then some details about how the tank was disposed of, and then as well as details about the sampling information and the soil and that sort of thing. So this is another inspection that, in the case that it's a planned closure and there was a closure date assigned and all that, that would be the right process in order to get this kind of a closure inspection that's more focused on collecting the information about the closure versus collecting less site visit information. And if a release is determined at the time of closure, you can enter that information here and identify which tanks or which compartments leaked, as well as the details about the cause and the source and whether they did their abatement measures. And I don't know if that's going to cite a violation or not. It's not. I think there's some violation at this site, but you can go in and choose add violation, and this. I think the only one currently assigned to tank closure is that he failed to perform the certified. They failed to have a certified closure worker perform the closure. That violation could be cited, but I think a lot of the 280/60 violations that are under Lust cases might get cited in that process. So if, you know, if there was some release that wasn't reported, or you found that they had some spill prior to the closure, or any of that information could be, any of those violations could be cited here associated with the closure. So any questions? I know I went through that quick, but we're kind of running out of time. And I think probably looking at each of these fields in more detail, we certainly could have another meeting, or we could go through it now. I have time, but I don't know if you guys have time. So I'm going to just open for questions associated with that tank closure inspection.
This will be one that they end up using a lot, Dan.
Good.
We've been going a lot more closures than usual.
Good. Good. Yeah, I know there's more tanks coming out of the ground than going into the ground these days. So
something too, maybe need to have the inspection side. I'm not sure if they're familiar with this or not. I don't know that we've went over this with them. Someone will talk with Cleve and Eric about it, because sometimes we split duties on tank closures, Dan. Sometimes the prevention side will be out, and sometimes the corrective action side will be out.
Yeah, I think tank closures, that assignment that we did, this one was assigned to Michael Boyer. I think that the assignments are specified for the UST inspectors get those assignments depending on what the county of the facility is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that one was assigned to Michael Boyer. So yeah. So, and if that's inappropriate, if the closure should be assigned to the Lust case project managers instead, we could do that. But let me know.
They go to both, Dan.
Okay.
When someone requests a closure and Jenna approves it and does all the paperwork, when she hits finalize or submit, it sends an email to the project manager and the inspector for that county.
Okay. When the closure occurs, I know some aren't witnessed, but is it usually the UST inspector, or is it the Lust project manager, or sometimes both?
It can be any combination of the above. There are some sites that we choose to keep a closer eye on, and that may be both the PM and the inspector. Then there are some places where they'll tag team, you know, Monday and Tuesday, the inspector's there, Wednesday and Thursday, the project manager's there. So it could be anything.
Okay.
And also availability. Sometimes, you know, if the inspector can't make it out to a site, then, you know, there's a lot of interest in that particular site, or in maybe that certified worker, then, you know, corrective action staff, if they've got someone available, will go out. And conversely, if corrective action is particularly interested in a site, but they can't make it out for whatever reason, then maybe a prevention person will go. We sort of kind of, you know, have both that will go to these closures. It just depends upon what the need is and what someone's schedule is like. And then, like you said, there's some closures that we just don't make it out to.
Right. So so the key there is this inspector listed for the closure task, right? So this closure task was assigned today. So I'm here if, let's say, Andrew was going to be the person going out, we choose his name and save, and then when Andrew synchronized, this tank closure would go down to his tablet. So that's that would be the way to reassign this. And whether it's this or a loss case or any kind of event, the inspector or the project manager listed on the event is the person who's going to get that inspection on their laptop or tablet.
And this to be when, like when Jenna does the closure authorization, is that when that happens?
Yeah, so the tank closure task is going to get, when the closure authorization gets created, let me go back there for a minute, or let's go to closure authorization. Let me go back to the closure. So whatever date this closure date is, the intended closure date, that's the date that the inspection gets scheduled for when she creates the closure authorization. And that I'm pretty sure that date actually prints on the closure authorization form when she generates it.
Okay, but you're saying at that time, of course, then the inspector that's listed there gets notified. But for example, say it did list one of the UST prevention inspectors. There's nothing that would prevent Andrew if say, Alex Hager, it was in his area and Alex couldn't go and he'd been sent the notification. There's nothing that would prevent Andrew from actually filling this out in the field, is there? If he, Alex called him up and said, "Hey, I can't make it. Will you go over and do the closure?"
Right. And the key would be to be going into the system and choosing the right person on this list, so that because Andrew wouldn't have that inspection on his tablet unless this gets assigned, and then he does the synchronization, in which case it would get downloaded with all these details to his tablet.
Okay.
You're saying that the specific closure has to be downloaded, to the tablet, because that pulls the information. But can both Andrew and Alex download the closure information to their tablet?
No, they shouldn't anyway. The issue being that if they both had the information on the tablet, and they'd end up generating two different inspection reports, and you really only want one inspection report. So hopefully we can designate one or the other to do the tablet work, and to have the closure event assigned to them, because an event or a task can only be assigned to one person.
But if they needed to, they could go online and add things there. Like if Alex downloaded it to his tablet and went out and did things, once he synchronized, then Andrew could come back in because he was out there the next day. And
and you could have two tank. You could have another tank closure inspection as well. You could add another one, and then reassign and have the second inspector download that one. So you wouldn't having two on the same day would be. I don't think the system would allow for that. But if it was two different days, or if this inspection got completed and the other inspector wanted to add additional comments or attach a photo or attach some other supporting document, that's something that could certainly be done. But it's the task itself, at least the way the system's designed now, has to be completed by one person. The task in the inspection tool.
okay.
Okay, I'm past the time we allocated, but I'm certainly available. You know, I'm available all day. So if you guys want to drill into anything in more detail, we did the closure inspection very quickly. We could look at that in more detail if you want to. The approach is to mimic the form you currently have, and then have the inspection report mimic the result of that form as well. And the same, you'll find, you know, I think we'll probably have kind of a generic site visit, and we'll probably even have an emergency response site visit inspection in the future. But any kind of entry that's done on the tablet is going to have the same set of things at the top, where you can cite a violation and enter comments and do the diagram and view the report and all that. So that stuff and the documents and the tanks and the compartments are going to be common, but then, you know, just details or specific entry is more down in this area here. Oop. Oop. Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Oop.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Anybody got questions?
Did I just mute it a minute ago? Okay, I muted a minute ago.
Dan, there doesn't seem to be any other questions at this time. I think probably they need to play with it a little bit. It's one of those things where when you're looking at it, it's like, oh, this makes sense. And then when you go in to do it, you've got to kind of play around with it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I didn't go into the details of the closure inspection, but you know, you guys are probably very familiar with the form that you currently have. So, and this is going to map directly to that. So, or very closely, and hopefully there's more context information downloaded from the database that gets, you know, that enhances the entry. But definitely, and if you want to go about doing, you know, one of these closure inspections or doing a LUS case, and if you're in the system and you were to either add a new LUS case or add a new closure, at the end of the process, either you can delete it, or if you're uncomfortable deleting it, I can delete it for you. And then that way you could, you know, create a test LUS case and create a test closure, go through the whole process, and then at the end of the process, delete it. That might be a good approach to, you know, to giving it a try.
Yeah, sounds good.
But let me if you do that function though, let me know as soon as you're finished, because otherwise 3 or 4 days later the documents will go to Web Extender and we'll have trouble. But definitely give this a try, and I can definitely do more demonstrations if anybody wants additional details. And you guys know this stuff better than I do. I'm just creating the entry screen, so, you know, whatever doesn't make sense, definitely let me know, and I can adjust whatever we need.
Dan, do we decide that if they're in the field, can they do a leak number, and then when they come back, when they sync, it goes in the database?
Oh, creating a new LUS case from the field? Yeah, that was something that you had said that you wanted the system to do, but the system doesn't do it yet. Creating,
okay. So
handling that emergency response situation where, you know, someone calls and you guys aren't going to use the database, you're going to go right out and visit the site or whatever and find out that there was, a release detection failure and there was a leak or whatever. The system won't allow you to do that now. The compliance folks can do that, where they can say find a facility and then look up a site and then just start an inspection. But for a lust case, creating a new lust case, the tablet can't do that yet, but it is on the list of things that we wanted to do.
Okay. All right. We'll try to break it.
Okay.
And get in there and roll around and play with it. I forgot that you and I had talked about this earlier in the springtime, and you know what we had picked for our tabs going across the top. I'm sorry about that. That's why there hasn't been any data entry on our side, as I totally forgot about it.
Yeah, and I think this is something to ease into, and I think that, you know, since you're doing more closures than less site visits, you know, hopefully that part of it will get your group more into using the tablet and, you know, finding the benefits of it.
The biggest benefit I can see in the immediate future is the GPS receiver, because the EPA wants GPS coordinates for all of our sites, whether they're open or closed. So that'll be a good little application when you're out on site. You can just, you know, go to the receiver, plop it in there during your site visit, and then it'll automatically sync. And then the next time that I pull my report for EPA, all those things will get updated.
Yeah, the latitude and longitude is one of the few fields that gets updated from the inspection system because it's not data that's on the registration form. So, and whether it's tank information or if you want to specifically get tank coordinates, use this function. But if you want to get a general one for the site, then use click on the top left up here where the facility name is, and then use this function in order to get the coordinates.
Right.
I just wanted to remind everyone, when you're testing and stuff, if you create a test file and everything, like Dan said, make sure that it gets deleted fairly immediately after you've went through it, because we do not want that to get uploaded to Apex, and the uploads to Apex are automatic after it's been in the system for a few days. So just kind of keep that in mind, okay?
And did we still need to let Dan know that we created a test site and then deleted it? Not a site, but like a closure report or something.
Yeah, if you successfully delete it yourself, then it won't go to Web Extender. So that's fine. If you have problems with deleting it or anything, definitely give me a call and I can help out. But it's the same. I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Could you show one more time about how you delete it?
Sure. Where were we here? We were here. So this is so this closure inspection here. From the task level, you can delete there. If you were to create a new tank closure, well, actually, yeah, you can delete a task. I don't know that you can delete an event. I know Jenna can, and I can. So if you were to create a lust case site visit for an existing lust case, you could do that and then delete it yourself. If you create a tank closure, you may have this delete event option available to you, or you may not. I'm not sure. But if you don't, then I could certainly delete it, or I could have Jenna delete it, any tests for you as well. But that would be the way to go about it.
Yeah, I understood about on the little red button that you can delete, report. I was thinking it was a little more in depth than that, but you're saying that would probably be fine under the delete column.
Yes, yeah, as long as you're deleting, test inspection that you did. So like if this one was, well, this is an event, but even an event could be deleted using that. Well, I don't know if, I think that you probably don't have permissions to delete events. You might have permissions to delete just a lust case. I'm unsure about that. But like a compliance inspection or any kind of event is going to have this delete event option, but it depends on the individual permissions you have as to whether or not you can delete event. I think you might have to be, actually, I know Melissa can delete a test lust case because she's listed as a lust administrator, right?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Melissa can delete a whole facility and then has to call Dan to fix it.
I remember that day. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. So anyone listed on in the main database as a lust administrator, I think, can do that delete function. So this is my test database, so this is a little different than what's in the production database, but definitely Ruth and Melissa and definitely Jenna can delete a lust case. But I don't mind doing it as well. And especially if you're testing and you have feedback, I want to hear the feedback anyway. So that'd be great.
I don't think we gave any of the project managers permission to, as a lust admin, just for that reason.
Right. Yeah. And I wouldn't. And it's so easy to delete. If you just send me an email and just tell me what new lust case number got assigned, I can delete that lust case easy. As well as if it's a closure event. If you just send me the facility number, I'll be able to delete it. All right.
Oh, sorry.